The future of Crimea looms over Ukraine's presidential election. And here is where many Crimeans come to talk about it. It's a Crimean restaurant serving up traditional food and music of the Tatar people who trace their origins to Crimea. But we're not in Crimea. This restaurant relocated to Ukraine's capital, Kiev, 5 years ago after Russia took over the peninsula. The Mokreniaks haven't seen their home since. It's just too dangerous to go back.
We want to come to Crimea, but we can't.
Sergei is an ethnic Russian born in Crimea. His wife Almaz is an ethnic Tatar who claims resisting Russian occupation is in her DNA.
Это генетическая память. Это из последних ярких, страшных событий моего народа. И депортировали моих бабушек и дедушек. Россия в свое время.
Crimean Tatars trace their origins back thousands of years to Central Asia. Most are Muslim, and the community has a fierce independence streak. Stalin accused them of fighting Soviet rule, and he deported hundreds of thousands after the Second World War. They were only allowed to return after the collapse of the Soviet Union. This is family video of some of the Mokreniaks' favorite places. But however powerful the connection is to their home, after Russia's takeover in 2014, many Crimean Tatars felt they had no choice but to leave again.
Crimea is a place where I was born. I don't have option to see my Black Sea. I don't have it today.
Sergei Mokreniak believes getting Crimea back should be the most important issue for Ukrainians as they prepare to elect a new leader. Now in exile, there's no doubt how Russian authorities view him. This is his wanted poster. Your neighbor Sergei is a traitor of Crimea, it says. And there were hundreds of these put up around his hometown. In the spring of 2014, he helped organize anti-Russian protests. Once it became clear that Russia's military had seized strategic positions around Crimea. In response, he was followed, had his car tires slashed, and the family received death threats.
Я понимаю, что русские продолжат преследование всех. Ну, я был тот, кто организовывал акции, но однозначно. Я вынужден был ехать.
Human rights groups claim Crimean Tatars suffer from systematic repression under the Russian occupation. Almaz says she feels disgust about the country she was born in.
I was born in Russia.
In Tomsk.
Сибирь. Но я когда смотрю в мой паспорт, права, вот это слово, оно меня до конца жизни будет меня уже корёжить.
In Crimea, there's now a hard border between Ukraine and the Russian-controlled peninsula. Families that used to easily visit with each other have to go through checkpoints. Most Western nations have imposed strict economic sanctions on Crimea, and companies are banned from doing business there. So, in the main cities, there are knockoffs of McDonald's, such as Peace Burger and Starducks, instead of the real thing. Sergei Mokreniak helps Ukraine's government draw up that sanctions list and enforce it.
Russia tries to destroy Ukrainian like a country and Ukrainian people. We need to work hard every day if we want to live to Crimea, to come to Crimea again.
Crimea's coastline is unquestionably one of the most beautiful along the Black Sea, and Russia has made major investments here since it took over. There's a new multi-billion-dollar bridge and billions more in other tourism investments, all to help demonstrate to Crimeans they're better off with Russia than they were with Ukraine. And while as many as 30,000 Crimeans left, most people stayed.
И вижу я тенденцию только положительную, только на улучшение.
Local entrepreneur Sergei Grichenko is among those here who is predicting a better future ahead with Russia. He felt confident enough in Crimea to invest his life savings in a small oyster farm.
Если нас Европа, либо кто-то другой не признает, да бога ради, места будет больше нам в этом рае. Поэтому я с удовольствием и с радостью сообщаю, что мы здесь живем и наслаждаемся жизнью, и работой, и перспективой, которая у нас есть.
5 years on, while there is resistance still to the Kremlin's takeover, many, perhaps even most Crimeans, have also clearly accepted the new reality.
Донбас і чуєте, Крим повернуться в Україну.
Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko, now in a runoff and fighting for his political life, has tried to keep the hope alive that Ukraine's lost territory will be returned. But neither he nor his opponent, comedian turned politician Volodymyr Zelensky, have offered specifics for doing so. And polls suggest most Ukrainians believe as long as Vladimir Putin is in charge in Russia, nothing will change anyway. Sergei Mokreniuk believes one day the Putin government will collapse, and just as suddenly as Russian rule in Crimea began, it will end the same way.
И в один день русские просто встанут и выйдут. И они проснутся, граждане Украины, а русских флагов уже нет. И где-то будет слышен урчание наших моторов. Вот как раз мы тогда и будем заезжать.
But until that day comes, if it ever does, Kiev is his new home, and the happy times in Crimea, captured on his family's home videos, are just memories. Chris Brown, CBC News, in Kiev.